Welcome, everyone, to the September 23rd Charter Commission meeting of 2020. We'll do an official roll count. Please, not sure how we do this virtually for sure, but maybe you can help me out.
Corey Delorme.
Here, it's Delorme.
Delorme.
Yeah.
Kathy Chile. Julian Dahlquist.
I'm here.
Athena Gracyk. Russell Hansen. Thomas Krabanoff.
Here.
Joel, I'm going to mess this up. Joel Redder.
Raider. I'm
Raider.
here. Thank you.
Dave Setterquist. Jim Steen.
Here.
Eldon Wallman. Mark Voxland.
Here.
Okay. Next item of business would be to approve the minutes of our last meeting of September 16th, I believe. If anybody's had a chance to look them over, it should have been out in your packet. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
This is Julian. I'll move.
The only thing I noticed on there is it lists Mark Boxland and Joel Rader as absent, and I know that they were both on the meeting.
Yes.
Thank you. I was going to point that out.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. I'll rescind my motion.
I'll just add, you can keep the motion, just add that to it.
Yep, just with the addendum, or
Okay, I'll amend my motion to include that Joel Rader and Mark Voxel were present in the minutes.
Then I'll second that.
second by Corey. Any discussion? Seeing none, we will move on to our one and only item of business, unfinished business, hiring a conflict attorney for the Charter Commission to address the question of appointment of elected officials to the Moorhead Public Service Commission. I came up with basically only two names. One is the city attorney for Detroit Lakes, which has a little bit, Detroit Lakes is a charter city, so he's familiar with charters. And he also advises some other small cities around. He'd be willing to, he's not willing to give us any opinion. The only thing he would do for us is to, if we wanted to amend the charter, he would write that up for us. The other one is the one that went through all the big packet that went out. I hope everybody had a chance to go through it. I know it was a lot of reading. As Randy Stephenson put that together, he would condense that and put it into an opinion if we wanted to look at that. So I guess the first item of business to me would be your feedback on that packet that got sent out and all that information. And I'd like to hear from all of you your thoughts, if there's any concerns or if there are concerns. So I'm going to try to put everybody on the spot. I'm going to start out with Corey. Did you get a chance to read into that too much?
Before we start,
Go ahead, Mark.
I have a question. What does that have to do with hiring an attorney? That's our only business that we have stated we're going to be doing.
Well, it would matter what we want from that attorney. Do we want an attorney if we decide to amend the charter in any way or not to amend the charter in any way? Do we want an attorney just to do that? Or do we want an attorney to render us an opinion on all that information?
don't quite understand, but okay, I'll listen.
Okay.
Well, I guess, yeah, I did have a chance to look through the material, and I don't know that the charter needs to be amended at this point. So if the attorney from Detroit Lakes, if that's all he's willing to do is write up an amendment, I don't know that he's the correct choice at this point. The other gentleman is familiar with the information, and I guess personally I was looking through things, and what I would want an opinion on is the incompatible offices section. Is the paid municipal office, does that fall into that category? And then is there or are there any other city ordinances that may conflict with that section of the charter, and any other rulings that may apply as well? That's what I would be looking for out of an attorney.
Okay, thank you. Joel, do you have a chance to look at this very much, in your opinion?
Yes. I do. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I also agree with Corey. The biggest thing for me, there was a lot of information. Still want to dig deeper, but the incompatible offices that's clearly listed in the charter, just to get a deep dive on that, if this is in fact one of those incompatible offices or positions.
Okay. Next person, Julian.
I don't really have a whole lot to add. I'm still, the idea of us going and finding independent counsel to advise on a perceived problem, I still don't feel comfortable with it. But I also feel like, I don't have a full grasp of everything that, we want to investigate with this. If that makes sense.
Okay. Tom Krabanoff.
Morning, everybody. Yes, I have to concur with both Corey and Joel, and I have two other things to throw in here. Is there a precedence for this before? So I'd like council to look for a precedence, legal precedence for this kind of thing happening before. And also, if we just, and I feel like the local guys turn doing anything and they make it trips, they'll charge you an hour and a half each way. So I think the cost effectiveness.
Tom, your audio was not very good. I don't know. Did everybody hear all of his statement or any of that? Any questions to Tom?
I didn't understand any of it.
Yeah, I couldn't hear either. Good morning.
Morning.
I can't get my camera to work, sorry. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Athena.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have a chance to look over the packet?
I did, yes. And I apologize for missing the last meeting. I admit all of the stuff did not get to me in time, so that was unfortunate. But I have read over the packet, and as far as I understand the situation, there is a call to essentially sever in many ways, the relationship between the city of Moorhead and the municipal utilities. And I just don't understand why we would want to do that. The Moorhead Public Service is clearly an entity created by the city for the city's benefit. The proposal to reduce the rate from 25 to 15% just seems arbitrary. And I don't see a justification for doing that, given that rates would increase And the cost would increase over time, and so why would the city get less of an assist from its own municipal utility rather than more? Furthermore, I don't see a conflict of interest if the city attorney has to do a question over the municipal, over MPS, because they're the same thing. There isn't there isn't a separation between the city and MPS. In the charter, it's clearly stated that the city owns and operates it, and it has a subsidiary function and administrative layer, but it's not a separate entity. So I don't understand the need to want to have a separate attorney's opinion. And as to the question of a city council member being appointed to a commission, the city council has the right to appoint any member to any commission. So I don't understand what the problem is with having a city council member being on MPS.
Okay. Well, I guess on that point, to me, we need a clarification of conflict of interest if they are incompatible offices. Clearly, the League of Minnesota Cities has precedent and in their handbook has stated that. So,
Jim, Chair?
yes.
I believe in your open last week, you read right from the charter, and I would say that some of Athena's points are valid, but I think also what you read directly from the charter does somewhat go against what she was saying, that it is part of the city, but it is meant to run totally separate as its own business, not part of the city, not political.
Exactly. And again, to repeat that, I mean, this was set a long time ago, back in 1896, when the council passed a resolution which said it is necessary to form this Light and Water Commission at a minimum cost and run strictly on business. And that was the original intent of that resolution by the council.
And did not our attorney recuse himself? It wasn't us going out looking originally. He recused himself, correct?
Yes. So, I mean, granted, I think we all need more information, but unfortunately, since it's so hard to meet and talk about this since this first started, we do have one council person that's also sitting on the commission right now, and we also have one of the commissioners that is running for council. Now, we don't know what her intent is, if she's going to stay on the commission or sit on both chairs. So, in a way, it is, you know, I don't know if it can be resolved that quick, and I'm not sure it can. But I think this is a charter question, I believe, and it's something that we as charter commissioners are to look at. And I don't know which way we're going to decide. I mean, there's a group of us.
I have a question.
We have that decision, and this is something that we have to investigate, I believe. Athena?
Yes. Well, I don't understand the implication of political issues over appointments. The city council members are nonpartisan positions. So there isn't a partisanship issue that should be part of this equation. So if somebody could explain to me what political implications there are to having a city council member on MPS board, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, the bottom line to that would be the transfer. I mean, there's a transfer of funds from that entity to the city's general fund. And to me, create kind of a bias there. I mean, hey, we need money. How much are we going to pull out? It's meant to be the utility, the MPS is meant to be run as a separate entity, as a business, and create as low rates as they can while supplying the city with a generous transfer. And how do you sit on both sides of that? You can't, you can't sit on both sides of that.
Pardon me, but the charter states exactly how that's done. There is a cap on the amount of the transfer that's allowed. Isn't that part of the discussion, that they wanted a decrease in the cap of the transfer funds from 25% to 15% for the electrical portion of the utilities? So I don't see a conflict of interest. That the MPS is created by the city and owned and operated by the city. Your assertion that it is a completely separate business, it doesn't seem to be upheld by our charter and rules as they're written. And rewriting them, I don't see the point of doing that.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this then. Is it right for a council person to appoint themselves to another paid position? Or should that be clarified?
How much are the commissioners paid to be on the MPS board?
What's
Are
that?
all of them compensated?
I'm having trouble hearing you, Athena. Can you repeat that?
How much are all of the commissioners compensated for being on the board? What is their salary for doing that?
I believe the compensation, I'll have to check this, but I believe it's about $780 a month, and Councilmember Durand has foregone that compensation.
Oh, so there is no conflict of interest in that regard. Okay, thank you. And she is a resident of the city, so there's no conflict there. Okay, I just don't understand what your conflict is. If she's not taking money for being on the board, and she's a nonpartisan member of the city council, what exactly is the threat that seems to be seen by having a city council member on this commission and board?
Okay, she chose to not take that payment on her own, but what's to say 10 years down the road, the next council person accepts the payment? I mean, there's nothing that states they have to turn that payment down.
Well, the compensation is very minimal. And we can't tell what's going to happen 10 years down the road. I think if we have a board member 10 years down the road who is a member of the city council and wants to take a commission, then maybe we can reconsider it. But at this point, there is nothing in the current situation that seems to warrant changing the city charter to address this situation.
Okay. Well, we are kind of straying from our agenda a little bit. I mean, the basic premise was, do we need to look at hiring an attorney?
Jim, I had one thing to say. This is
Okay,
Joel.
go ahead, Joel.
To Athena's point, it really isn't about the money, no. It's about what lens do you look through? Are you a city council person when you're making business decisions for MPS? Are you an MPS board member when you're making city decisions? It could be two different decisions to make, MPS more successful. Maybe it's not the greatest for the city at the time. I think that's why the charter states that it should be run separately, and it does say in the charter, free of political views, bias, or direction. So it's not about the money. I think it's about how you're looking at it. What lens are you looking through?
Is it a question of somehow the board does not want any oversight by the city?
Oh, they have a liaison appointed to them. I mean, they're just a not voting. They report everything to the council, or they should be.
Okay, so the council's fully informed of everything that happens at the board meetings. And you have a city council member who is interested in this commission and is taking an active role, apparently, by being a member. I still am not hearing I'm not understanding from anything you all are saying what the actual threat is by having a city council member be on a city commission that is owned and operated and overseen by the city.
I see Tom had written something in the chat, and I can't see it anymore. I don't know if, Tom, is that something that you wanted to make a motion?
Oh, good copy now or not? Good.
Again,
Can you hear me now?
okay. He's going to open the chat for me. Okay.
I'm gonna try to make it quick follow this.
Okay. For these actions. Do you want to make that a motion, Tom, to hire or ask if Randy Stephenson would like to render an opinion or give us his legal opinion? Again, they are just an opinion, but I mean, maybe it's something more that we can go on. Tom says yes. I guess that's a motion.
I'll second. This is Joel.
Second by Joel. Discussion.
Well, just the point of clarification, I didn't hear anything that constituted a motion. I was just wondering if you could read off the motion. I didn't see anything in the chat, and I didn't hear Tom say his motion.
Athena, I move to table this discussion for lack of clarity.
Well, if we're in the discussion section, Athena, I love the conversation. I think you have some really valid points that need to be addressed. Just trying to look at the agenda today as what it is, and you know, I'm not an attorney, and I'm not a law enforcement officer, nor do I choose to be any of those things. And so when I look at the charter, I read it one way and other people read it another way, and that's why we have attorneys and judges and things to interpret all of this written rules and ordinances and things. So where I come from is I would love to have an attorney look at specifically section 2.05 of the charter as it pertains to incompatible offices, and compare that to any, you know, city ordinances, past precedent, you know, things like that, and render an opinion that if we have an issue here by somebody that, again, is more versed in the law and how things have run in other places. That's where I think this meeting is about. Do we need to hire somebody to analyze that and find all of that information? And in my opinion, yes. Athena, again, love the conversation, and I'm all on board in getting more information and hearing you know, what your thoughts and what everybody's thoughts are on if this indeed is a conflict, and what should be done about it if it is. But I don't have that information, and I don't have the time to try to do that. So hiring an attorney, in my opinion, is the right course of action at this point.
Thank you, Corey. Dan?
Well stated, Corey. I completely concur with you.
Okay.
Looking in the dictionary here, you know, if the charter if the public service is supposed to be non-political, the dictionary definition of a politician is a person who is professionally involved in politics, especially as a holder of or a candidate for an elected office. To me, these should be positions that aren't held by council people, but I would like the legal definition and a legal precedence, you know, dug up for this. Not, you know, because we all have different viewpoints on it, but I would like to get a legal precedence and see if this has been done elsewhere in the state.
Okay. And yes, there are, from just a little bit of investigation, I know, I think it's Rochester, Minnesota, does not allow a council person to sit on it, on their Public Service Commission. So we do have a motion on the floor, I believe from Tom, and if we need some clarification on that. Tom, now that your audio is a lot better, can you repeat your motion?
I'd like a motion that we hire Randy Stephenson.
To give us an opinion? Do you want to add that to that?
Yes, legal opinion, definition of a politician, interpretation of the charter and precedences from other cities, if this kind of thing has been done before.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I will second. This is Joel.
Discussion.
Yes, was the League of Minnesota Cities asked about opinions previously on this type of matter?
I'm not sure on that. They do have it in their handbook that says
They have,
about incompatible offices, but I guess we would be looking at it, what is an incompatible office? And that would
they
be,
have, sorry. They do have a service as part of the league that possibly would solve this without us expending dollars.
okay. Any other discussion?
Well, I think if that's an option, Mark, I'm not aware of that. So if that service exists to where we could get an opinion that, is done by an attorney or somebody in a similar role, I would be in favor of looking at that route rather than spending money.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't know, I guess, in my eyes, I'd like to hear both. I think it'd be good to hear more than one opinion. Information from the League of Minnesota Cities would be great. Information from an attorney would be great. And be able to basically have more than one opinion. Any other
What is
discussion?
Randy Stephenson's fee for rendering an opinion, has he said?
I'm not sure. Right now, I know he donated his time to give us this information, pull this up from the League of Minnesota Cities and things like that. I'm not sure what he would charge. I know there is a little money available according to statute that we can use. And to be honest, it's surprising how many people do actually watch these meetings. I got more than a few phone calls about wanting to contribute money if the city wasn't going to give us any money to hire an attorney. So I told them that we didn't want to go down that route yet because we don't even know what we're doing. But I think since he's done most of the legwork already on this, I think if he's just got to condense it and put it into words, I don't think the fee would be very high, maybe an hour or two. I think lawyers' fees usually run $200 to $300 an hour would be my guess. But I mean, we could amend that motion, I guess, to have a spending limit on it. I'm not sure. Any more discussion?
So, I have a question. Aside from the fact that you have ignored my motion, I am wondering why our city attorneys feel that there is a conflict of interest. Is it something that they perceived as a conflict of interest, or is it something that this body thinks about them?
Well, I've been approached by many citizens on this since it started early this spring. And not.
I'm still not clear what the issue is. The issue seems to be a city council member sitting on a commission. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. Are there city council members sitting on any other commission?
You're still hard to hear, Athena. I'm sorry. Can you speak
Are
slower?
there any city council members sitting on other commissions of the city? We have several commissions and boards.
Yes, but this, the MPS is a different entity. It's a utility that's owned by the city. It's not a planning commission. It's not an arts commission. It's totally different.
Right. So I don't understand the desire to not have a city council person be on that committee. It's one of the few commissions that actually has any kind of responsibility for generating funds, and oversight by the city seems
You answered your
completely
question
reasonable.
right there. It's one of the few commissions, I think you just answered your question right there, Athena, is that it's one of the few commissions that generates funds.
Yeah, it generates funds for itself. It is not separate from the city, not in our charter. It is owned and operated by the city, and having a city council person on that board seems perfectly reasonable. I do not understand this idea that somehow it's been politicized because a city council member is on it.
My opinion, because one, it's a monetarily compensationable position, and two, it does generate funds.
One, she has refused that
the charter needs to be
compensation,
drawn
and
up
two, the
in
city needs
1896.
these funds. That's why it was instituted, to benefit the city.
Yes, I won't dispute that, but I don't see where putting a politician benefits public service and benefits the rest of the city by doing that, when the charter clearly states that this is a non-political entity.
Okay.
So your assumption would say that any city council member on any commission politicizes that commission. Is that correct?
No,
Why not? That's just what you said.
because the park board does not generate funds.
Well, it can still be politicized.
Yeah. So,
Yes, but then
again,
it's not a
we're
compensable position either.
okay.
That's why we need legal counsel, because we all have a matter of opinion here.
And tell me again why our own city lawyers are unable to answer this question?
Why our own city attorney has reclused himself. Julian, I see in the chat, has a question. Julian?
Okay.
I was just curious, given how far we're getting into the conversation, before we've actually moved on it yet. I'm wondering if there are other cities that have council or elected presence on their public service commission. Surely we can't be the only city in the state that has a public service commission, and I would assume that there's at least one other that has elected officials serving on that. And I'm wondering if maybe that might be helpful information to look into too when we're going over this discussion.
And that's one of the questions I think Stephenson can answer too. And I know of cities that do, and we know of at least one city that doesn't allow it. So, but again, we don't know what their charter states. We have our charter in front of us. I don't know what Mankato's charter states or doesn't state. I don't know what Rochester's charter states or doesn't state. We have to look at our own charter, if it's complete enough. And again, maybe it's fine, but should it be defined in our charter whether it is fine to have a council person on that commission or is not, and what are the ramifications? And to me, that's the only question we have here is, do we, as a charter commission, do we need to look at amending the charter to allow this or to not allow it? And we need that information. We need information broken down from the League of Minnesota Cities. We need, to Mark's point, sounds like there's some resources there we can get at. I would also like to see one from an attorney from the information that he breaks down. And the more information, the better. I mean, we're hashing this back and forth, and we don't have a lot of the answers to some of the questions you're asking. And I think what we need to do is to find some of those answers.
I see that our mayor is on the call. Can I ask his opinion about this at this point? We are in the discussion
No, I don't,
section of the motion.
I don't want opinions from the council or the mayor at this point. This is our,
Are you serious?
this is our discussion.
Okay, well, I think the point of researching other cities and seeing what their, how they operate the relationship between the city and their public and municipal utilities is a good suggestion. Thank you, Julian Dahlquist, for that.
Okay, well, there'll be other meetings down the road when that can happen. Right now, this only thing on our agenda is, do we want to hire an attorney to render an opinion on this?
We have a cap of $1,500 for our use.
Julian, a follow-up to possibly amendment to the motion. Go ahead, Julian.
So going back to the League of Minnesota Cities, I'm wondering if Tom would accept an amendment to maybe pursue their legal counsel, because it sounds like they have legal counsel at their disposal. That I think, you know, if we're talking about getting a fair assessment from a legal representative, that would be, you know, instead of just hiring someone private, that may be a better suited individual for this kind of investigation we're looking at.
Okay. So Tom, is that something you would be willing to amend? Would you want to add them to it or just use them? Or is that something you would consider?
Well, I think it'd be advantageous to add them, and I guess lawyers speak differently than you know, the rest of us do. So I think the two of them getting, you know, specifically what we're asking for would be better, or more beneficial, would be easier for us to gather the information we need to make an informed decision. So I do like the inclusion of the League of Cities Council as well.
Okay.
So thank you for that, Mr. Julian.
Okay. Athena asked to please type Tom's motion into the chat. I'm not able to do that. I don't have a keyboard here. I don't know if anybody else can type that in. Is that possible? So.
Is Christina taking minutes?
Yes, currently I just have, again, I've got a couple things. I've got a motion to hire the conflict attorney. I've got a motion to table from Athena, and then now a motion with hire an attorney and
Along with the city.
with
League of
the
Minnesota
LMC.
Information that we can gather from the League of Minnesota Cities.
Yep,
Christina,
so,
could you please state the order of the motions, which I did not hear a motion from Tom before I entered my motion. So if there was a motion, would you please type that into our chat?
so,
Thank you.
well, and technically the chat is not official. So if there are motions, they should be spoken. So those are just the three that I have heard was from, my apologies, I lost the name here. From Thomas and from yourself. And then Julian, I think, had just made
He
For
made
the
a
change.
friendly amendment to Tom's motion, is what I understood.
So Tom's original was just to go as stated. Motion to approve hiring a conflict attorney, Randy Stephenson,
Okay?
for the Charter Commission to address the question of appointment of elected officials to the Moorhead Public Service Commission.
And can you please add what Julian's motion, amendment to that motion would be?
So that would be motion to approve hiring a conflict attorney, Randy Stephenson, and acquire information
About the League of Cities?
from the League of Minnesota Cities.
Well, I can speak more clearly to my motion if it would be helpful. I guess the idea behind my amendment was to reach out to the League of Minnesota Cities first before we go down the private route. So instead of So, leaving the option to work with Mr. Stephenson, leaving that option on the table, but having the League of Minnesota Cities be the first option that we go to. And if they're unable to provide, and something I just thought of now is maybe we could do that for free since we are a Minnesota city. I don't know. But if they have legal counsel, use them as a first option. And then if that doesn't work, then we can look at private attorneys.
Well, that makes sense, because we could certainly ask our current attorneys to give us that information before we decide that we have to go a private route.
Okay. Just to, I'm not the best person to ask on Robert's Rules of Order, but I guess, Julian, you didn't really, you asked Tom to amend his motion, and Tom did amend his motion to ask for both.
Okay.
So technically, I suppose we need to vote on that first?
Yes, on the amendment first.
Okay. So we have a first, and we do have a second on that, I believe, was it from Joel on Tom's motion?
Actually, Julian's motion needs a first and a second, doesn't it?
If I understand correctly, if it's a friendly amendment that's accepted by the original motion's author, then it just becomes part of the original motion.
Okay.
And I guess, to clarify, since it and just the nature of what we're doing remotely with this whole COVID thing, if it wouldn't be germane to offer the League of Minnesota Cities as a first step language as the amendment, the friendly amendment. And Tom, that's what I would really like to do with my amendment. I probably didn't word it clearly enough the first time, but I would like for my amendment to be using the League of Minnesota Cities as a first step as far as legal counsel.
Okay. Somebody help me on that. Julian can amend Tom's motion?
Well, he would need to accept the language that I offered as a friendly amendment. And if I understand correctly, if he accepts that language, then that gets amended into his original motion.
Okay. So then we go back to Tom. Did you accept his amendment?
And what is sitting on the table now, just to have only the League of Cities look into the matter?
Have them be the first ones we go to instead of going down a private attorney route from the get-go. And I'm hoping we can save the city some money too, since, like I said, we are, this is getting into discussion, but the language I'm offering to you, Tom, is that we use the League of Minnesota Cities as a first option before going down the private route, but keeping private attorney Stephenson on the table.
Okay.
Well, I would like to have both. This is the second meeting I've been to in 7-8 years on the Charter Commission where we have not had representation. Yes, I really do value the input of the League of Cities Council and what they have to offer, but I also value having an attorney, on the meetings to interpret different things while we're on the fly like Shockley used to do. So I do value having the in-person input as well.
Okay.
So Tom, do you accept Julian's amendment to your motion?
We have both forms of counsel.
Yeah, it would be both would be available to us to pursue. It's just the League of Minnesota Cities. I would like for that to be the first option that we go to, in hopes that they maybe have some free legal advice that they could provide, and also providing an unbiased opinion on that.
Well, I'd like to have counsel, included in our meetings as well. next time we meet online like this to interpret what the league is putting forth.
Okay.
Is that a no?
I guess that would be, a no.
I was going to say, if the League of Minnesota Cities would then be, you know, if they are able to provide legal counsel services for us, then theoretically they would be able to fulfill that need also. That's why I'm just, you know, we're talking about an issue of a city, right? And League of Minnesota Cities would seem well equipped to handle this sort of issue. And I'm just trying to go with kind of what has been offered as an apolitical assessment on this.
Okay.
You know, you can get personal opinions from, you know, private attorneys and what have you, but, you know, for an organization that can advocate on behalf of cities, and work with cities entirely in its existence, that hopefully they can provide a level-headed assessment and advisement on these issues.
Okay, but bottom line is here, I've got a strong suspicion what the League of Minnesota Cities is going to come back with us and say, what does your charter say about this? That's what they're going to tell us. I'm probably 90% sure of that. So that gets back to the question, do we want to look at our charter and amend it either way? And to get a legal opinion from anybody, from them is fine, and from another attorney would be fine, so we have all the information. But like I said, I can pretty much guarantee you what the League of Minnesota Cities is going to come back with is, what does your charter say? So we do have we do have a motion on the table from Tom to hire Randy Stephenson and look at, ask League of Minnesota Cities their opinion from both of them. And I think we had a second, but I think we should ask for a second again.
Well, a quick point of order. I still haven't heard if Tom is willing to accept my amendment or not.
I believe you said no. Tom?
Only if we have Stephenson involved as well. And the way I see it, Stephenson has already done a lot of digging on this already, has already gotten us a lot of information for nothing. So I think to hire him with the knowledge he's already provided for all of us would be the smart thing to do, along with the League of Minnesota Cities.
Okay.
So yes, if we have both forms of representation, it's a yes. If we have only one form, it's a no.
So, do I hear a second on Tom's motion?
I believe Joel already seconded it.
I will re-second my second.
Okay. If there's not any more discussion, I'd like to take a roll call vote on this.
Say, Chair,
Dan?
can we have the motion read just so we're all clear what that motion is?
Okay. Can you read the motion, please?
And just to clarify, I've got Joel Rader as the second.
Yes.
Okay. So the motion to approve hiring a conflict attorney, Randy Stephenson, and acquire information from the LMC for the Charter Commission to address the question of appointment of elected officials to the Moorhead Public Service Commission.
As a point of order, that was not Charter Commission member Dahlquist's request to add the League of Minnesota Cities information.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, my breakfast burrito is catching up with me. So what Tom had said, and it's becoming a little frustrating for me, was I had offered the League of Minnesota Cities as a first stop while keeping Stephenson on the table. I don't want to exclude anyone that's been gracious enough to provide us free legal advice so far, and I think that, you know, as we have our public meetings, they can certainly participate in so much as our chair is allowing them to. But it just seems to me that if we were to go to the League of Minnesota Cities first, this would be something that they would be prepared to work with us on. And I just think that if that is the first option, we could possibly, hopefully, get free continued advice from them, because we are taking this up seriously. And I don't like the suggestion that, well, we already know what they're going to say, because I don't know what the League of Minnesota Cities would say. And I think that regardless of whether or not they were to say what we think they would say, they would still hear our concerns and try and help us in some way. So to what Tom was saying, I feel like we're kind of beating around the bush here, is that I want to keep Stephenson an option, but I would like for the League of Minnesota Cities to be the first option. And I haven't heard a yes or no from Tom on if that is acceptable. But I do not want to keep Stephenson out of the conversation. I just want him to be the second choice.
Okay.
I'm wondering, Mr. Chair, if things should be separated a little bit. What I understood early on was the question really is conflicting office, incompatible office. Maybe what we do is take a step back, ask the league what they've got for definitions and how that has been handled across the state in the past, if there happens to be an attorney general opinion on it even, and then make our next step if we need to hire an attorney or not. To me, that seems to be the question that was originally asked and has created this ball that we're kind of throwing around. So it might be good to just withdraw everything and maybe just have a nice clean resolution that just says, let's ask the league about conflicting office, incompatible office, see if they know if there's an attorney general opinion on it, see what they've dealt with across the state, get that information. That might just clear it all up for us.
Okay, but I mean, just to clean this motion up, Tom, I heard a no, but I need to hear from Tom. Do you accept Julian's motion? I would like to get through this motion. If it doesn't pass, then we'll come with another motion. But we need to get through this motion first, I believe. So Tom, do you accept Julian's amendment to that?
What should be, no, I do not accept that.
Okay, so we'll go back to the original motion that Christina read.
So the motion on the table is to approve hiring a conflict attorney, Randy Stephenson, for the Charter Commission to address the question of appointment of elected officials to the Moorhead Public Service Commission.
Okay. And there was a second by Joel. Let's do a roll call vote. Athena?
No.
Corey?
No.
Joel? Joel Rader?
Yes?
Julian?
Yes.
No?
Mark? Mark Boxland? Mark, can you repeat?
No.
Okay. Tom Krabanoff? I'm assuming a yes. Tom? Tom?
That's a yes.
Okay. Did you get a good count on that?
I have 3 yeses, 4 nos.
Okay, and I'd be a yes also, so it's a tie. Then what happens?
I have Corey, no. Julian, no. Athena, no. Thomas Krabnoff, yes. Joel, yes. Jim, yes. Mark, no.
Okay, so it's 4-3.
3, yes.
Okay, so that motion does not pass. Okay, would somebody like to make another motion on this subject? Julian, do you want to go with
I'd
yours?
make-
It sounds like Mark had something to say. I'll let whoever's talking speak.
This is Mark. I'll make a motion that we ask the League of Minnesota Cities questions on what's a conflicting office or an incompatible office between city council and just in general, I guess, and that see if they know what's been going on across the state on issues of council members being or not being on power and light commissions, I think is probably the best way to put it. And then if there's any attorney general opinions that have been rendered on especially conflicting and incompatible office.
I'll second that motion.
Sorry for the ramble.
Motion by Mark, second by Athena. I'll give her a few minutes and she can read the motion back.
Okay, and the motion was made by,
Mark Boxland.
Mark.
thank you, Mark. Second by Athena. Okay. Okay, so I have a motion to ask the LMC on what a conflict in office / incompatible office is, and see what has been happening across the state with council members on power and light commissions, and if there isn't any attorney general opinion on the matter.
Okay. So we have a first and a second on that. Discussion on that motion.
I would just say that this way we can get some good information, and from that, we can maybe glean if we need an attorney. $1,500 isn't going to go very far if we have to have an attorney present at one of our meetings. So I guess I'd like to save that money for if we do need an attorney present.
Okay.
Who will be doing this research? Is this something that our current attorneys can look into for us? That certainly would be good.
Yeah, I have a real hard time hearing Athena. I'm sorry, Athena. It sounds real muffled.
Who is going to be doing the research? Let me turn up my mic level.
On our end or from the League of Minnesota Cities?
Who is going to do the research on our end for the League of Cities and the Attorney General, possible Attorney General decisions? Is that something that our current legal team can look into for us, as they have in the past?
I guess that's something, if I get the contact number, I can make the call, or maybe I can have ask Dan to make the call to the League of Minnesota Cities or I'm not sure.
City manager would be good, sure.
Yes, we can do the research. I think we'll have John Shockley's office, Johnson Twitchell, has declared the conflict, so
Yep.
I think they're out, that firm is out at this point, so
Yep.
that's on us.
Okay.
And I'm here to support as you wish.
Okay, I guess, yeah, I can make the call, if that's okay with the rest of the commissioners, to the...
No, I would prefer that Dan do it as a city manager, so that somebody in the city actually understands what's going on across the city,
Okay. Anybody else?
across the state.
Yeah, Dan might know the right people to talk to right away anyway.
Okay,
Just call down to their office, gets a little convoluted sometimes. I'm guessing Dan will be able to pinpoint almost right away who we should start talking with.
and I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
If Dan didn't want to, I guess I could too, but if Dan's agreeable to that, to make the contact, to submit the question that we have, basically is what you'd be doing to them, and to supply us with answers to our question, basically.
I will do
Great.
that.
Okay, Dan has accepted that. So we have a first and a second, I guess, and discussion. We have not taken a vote on this, so I'm going to go through this again as a roll call vote because it's easier that way on virtual. We'll start out with Athena,
Yes.
Corey,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
Julian,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes, as long as it's in a timely manner.
okay? And I will go yes too, and hopefully we can get this back in a timely manner. So that motion has passed, and we'll see how quick Dan can come back, or this League of Minnesota Cities can come back with an answer for us. Until then, we do have a meeting scheduled for December. I believe it's the 16th or something like that. I think we were talking about moving that up to kind of get it away from the holidays if we could, but if it's okay, we can, we'll look at one more meeting here before the end of the year in November, December, if we get that information back anyway. And we'll try to get that meeting date out as soon as we can, if we have an idea, would be my suggestion, so. With that, I think we've covered our one item, which took about an hour, but it's a good discussion. Thank you, everybody, for their input. Again, it's, to me, it's not about what happened or what's going on. It's what, it's the process of it. Is it allowed by our charter? Is it not allowed by our charter? Should our charter be clarified by it or not, you know, or is our charter clear enough on the subject? And that is our job as charter commissioners, to look at things in that perspective. And I appreciate all of your opinions. So with that, we will be adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Chair.